up the stairs with this thing, and I have no lifting power in my knee. So I just had to sit down. Then I had to pull myself out from under the furniture and start over because I just couldn't move. I was trapped there. But hey, Gary, how's it going? Got here comes Tim.
Muted. There we go. So you've got a problem with your knee going on, or you were just
no, I was trying. I didn't know. My knee. I only have trouble when I'm going downstairs usually, and I'm trying to go upstairs carrying a piece of furniture that's too big to go through our door for one thing, and I just found I don't have zero lifting power in my knee.
Yeah.
And I got trapped underneath it because I'm trapped halfway up the stairs, and I can't I can't move. So I
what I do is I use lifting straps. You can order these lifting. I'll see if I can find a link and I'll send it to
you. They did that with our washing machine when they brought it in. Instead of using a two-wheel cart or something, they just put lifting straps on it, and
yeah, that's for two people. They also have some for one person. And the advantage is that, it's like, you end up with something where you loop it around your arms rather than your hands,
Yeah, I'll tell you something, that Qigong workout, I was feeling it later in the day. And, it really does, even though it seems like a mild workout, it really had me going. Hey, Tim, how's it going?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, well, Gary is just tired at night, I think. That's pretty much
my main problem is fatigue right now. Yeah.
Just at night, you're just other than these two nights, usually Monday and Wednesday, I'm usually to bed pretty early. Okay, my truck gets shrunk. I'm putting this Dawn Dream in. Let's get started on it. I don't know whether we can finish it all at once, but because this is one I think that's going to take two sessions. All right, I'm trying to find the edge of the dream. Okay, all right, here it is. All right. There we go. Okay. Now, Dawn's dreams, I always so much enjoy them. And, they are, looks at me very concerned. And there's just one more part. That's okay, Dawn. We can talk about the out of order places later. Let me see. He looks at me very concerned. Okay, with a very concerned face. Okay, there's this last part here. Okay. All right. There we go. Okay. All right. How is Tim doing today at night? Or is Tim's busy? Oh, good. All right, great.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, okay. Well, why don't we, hopefully Charles comes, but we'll spend about a half hour or a little more on this stream. And then Tim, if you have a dream or somebody else has a dream, we can go on it too. But we might, we'll just see, if Charles doesn't come, then we'll have more time. But Charles had sent a dream. Okay, so, I kind of broke this dream up, so why don't I just go through it? And let me see here. All right, who can see your messages? Oh, wait, that's something from Zoom. Okay, let's see. No, we're not going to skip this, Dawn. Are you crazy? All right. I'll just go through it real quick. She is driving her husband's truck, which she very rarely does. She's going to meet her kids at a bus stop. But she parks so the rear of the truck is sticking way out into the road. A lady complains, and I try to tell her why, but I can't remember the reason. Okay. Then I do remember the reason, and it comes back to me bit by bit. Okay. And when I woke, I couldn't think of what it was, the reason I'd been explaining, only that I was remembering it in waves, which is very important. Let me see. Is everybody still here? Oh, yeah. I lost my Zoom thing. Okay. Now, that's the first part of the dream, okay? That's part one, and now we're going to go to part two. I'm still in my husband's truck looking for the bus stop, but begin to worry I'm in the wrong place. It is still dark outside, and I don't understand why. I can't figure out what is going on. I begin to drive around the blocks near my house. Okay, now, yeah, this is the part right here. Dawn, it says you're driving around near your house. When do you find the extra set of keys in the seat? Is that after, do you remember after when that was?
Yeah, I think it makes sense that I found the keys after I go down the one-way street and go
Yes.
into the store.
Because you got out of the truck and then got back in, right?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right, so I'll try to incorporate that in. So we'll skip that part for right now. Okay. Okay. So we're going to skip this part until we get out of the truck. Okay. Is it before you meet the angel or after you meet the angel?
I think it should be afterwards.
After you meet the angel. Okay. Yeah, well, now that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does now. That really does make sense. Okay. So we're going to skip about the part about the keys for a second. So we begin to drive around the blocks near my house. And this is because it's still dark outside. You're looking for a bus stop. I'm still in my husband's truck looking for the bus stop, but begin to worry I'm in the wrong place. And she's supposed to be meeting her kids at the bus stop, and she can't find the bus stop to meet her kids. So she's looking for the bus stop. It begins to worry she's in the wrong place. It's still dark outside. She's picking up her kids, and it's dark outside. And she doesn't understand why. Can't figure out what is going on, and begins to drive around the blocks near my house, trying to find the bus stop. Okay, now this is really important. She heads down a one-way street and gets stuck. She can't turn the truck around. Okay, and now the truck has shrunk, but it doesn't help her get out of being stuck in the one-way street.
There's a possibility that I have that mixed up too. It might be
Okay.
first that the truck is like large and swollen, and then like after I get out, go to the store and come back, and then it's smaller. I mean,
Okay.
I'm
So
so
now,
sorry.
when would you say does the truck shrink before you see the angel or after you see the angel?
I think it shrinks afterwards.
Okay, that's good. All right, now don't worry about it. So we're gonna put that. I'll edit it later, but let's just keep going now. So really, what has happened here is she's stuck in a one-way street. She can't turn the truck around. Now, so she's stuck in the street. She can't turn the truck around. She gets out of the truck and she walks into a building at the end of the street as if the road runs right into the building. And, you know, I kind of thought of Grand Central Station when I thought about this, you know, where the train goes right through almost like a shopping mall. It's just so beautiful. There is a man there, and he seems to shine or exude something curious to me. He doesn't speak, but just smiles. I wonder if he was an angel. He helped me get off the street somehow, but I don't know exactly how. Okay, I just knew that he had helped me. So now you find the set of keys. Is it after the truck blows up again? No. So what had happened is you come back to the truck. It had shrunk, but it didn't. Can you just describe that?
I have trouble with the order of my dreams sometimes, because when I wake up and I'm remembering pieces and I'm trying to write it down, I'll write a part down, and then when I write that part down, it helps me remember another
Helps
part.
you remember another part. Yeah,
Yeah, so they can
that's
get.
Yeah, that happens to me too. But let's just say this, okay, because that's an important part. And there's two important parts. Okay, now basically what has happened is we have met this curious man who doesn't speak but just smiles, and he shines or exudes something curious. Okay, and so then after we've met this man now remember, we're going down the one-way street. The truck gets stuck. It can't turn this way, can't turn that way. Where does the road end? It ends in a building. We go into the building. There we find the man who shines or exudes something curious. And he has helped us get off the street. We don't know and how. And there's two things that happen. One is the truck shrunk, and it blew up back again, and so much it grew right into the car behind and crushed the front of the vehicle. Okay, and you look in and you see a man trapped and hunched over the wheel, and you wonder if he's dead. Okay, now this kind of reminded me of in the Wizard of Oz, when the house falls on the Wicked Witch, and you know, I mean, so she's killed after the truck, or somebody or something is killed after the truck. Now this might have to do with who owns the truck or something like that. Now let's go back to the key part. Now after we see the angel, we get into the truck and we find an extra set of keys in the seat. You're curious about how the keys got there. And we don't need them and wonder who they belong to. So we set off to find where they belong. Okay. And now we are heading down the street, and we hear scary music playing in a house across the street from me. I'm still worried about my kids. I was trying to find them at the bus stop. And I head to my house, but it's not the outer house. It's a house that is in the dream, okay? And we find the door unlocked, and and Dawn feels her anxiety growing. She goes in and finds her kids and tells them to lock the door. Now she walks from the porch into the house and sees her husband trying to build something on the floor, but he is unsuccessful. He looks at me with a very concerned face, saying, "We have no Wi-Fi," as if that's the reason he can't get it built. And I feel that he needs me there for him to build it. All right, now this is a dream with maybe 4 to 5 parts, and you know, they are all related. So let's just spend some time. Right, maybe we can just all start and then we'll try to summarize it. What strikes you in the dream? And while you're doing that, I'm going to try to break it up into parts, subheadings or something.
Yeah, well, I like the helpful animus.
Yes.
The helpful animus really stuck out for me.
Yeah, and also the fact that apparently after we meet the helpful animus, the truck had shrunk before we met him, but after we meet him, the truck grows and it becomes not just that the regular truck, but it is so large, is magnified so much that it has, and I think it's just a symbol of how big it had been. I mean, just to show how, to give you some idea of how big it got, it crushed the vehicle behind, at least the front of it. That's the number one thing that happened after we met the shining animus. And the number two thing is that we find an extra set of keys. Okay. Now these aren't the normal keys. Let's say these aren't the this is our gold is not the common gold. You know, that's what they say in alchemy. So these keys are not the common keys. There's something about them. And let's just, she had a little note here too about the angel. He didn't look like an angel. He just looked like a regular man, except for exuding something curious. I don't know if I exactly saw a light or just felt he was gleaming. I can tell you the vibe of the encounter. It reminded me of an old Christmas movie where someone has an encounter with Kris Kringle as a regular man, but has a secret feeling he's Santa Claus. Then you walk away, something happens, and you're sure it's him. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, let's just kind of get some initial impressions. I mean, this is one that we're going to have to, I think, digest too. Gary, what do you think about it?
Well, what's interesting is, you know, that she's not in her own car, you know, she's in the husband's truck, and not only that, but it gets stuck, you know, and it can't, you know, so it's like when, you know, it's like, you know, part of it seems like a relationship type of thing. In you know, working things out there, trying to maybe drive something in some direction, and it just won't fit, it just won't go, and then, you know, even when she gets back to the house finally after the, you know, the helpful animus, you know, the house isn't secure, the house isn't locked, and it feels, you know, feels like she's worried about the kids. And then, you know, but the husband is, you know, he's having, you know, he's obviously stressed, you know, he's got this thing that he's trying to build. And the Wi-Fi, well, what's the Wi-Fi about? The Wi-Fi is about communication, you know, the Wi-Fi is about being connected. And so, you know, to me, this is, it's about connection with the significant other somehow.
How about it's very good, Gary. I mean, we're gonna have to go circle around this, like what you know, in to get the walls of Jericho to come down, you have to go around it 7 times in the counterclockwise direction and then blow a trumpet. So what do you think, Tim?
Yeah, I'm still confused with the order and everything, but the couple of things that stick out to me, one is the difference between the female activity and the male activity, and particularly in your relationship with your husband. You're in his truck and it's too much it's too big, it's too swollen, and it kind of expands into the space of the next person. And that seems to be kind of out of control. And in that situation, you're stuck. You need to get out of that. And it's this magical anonymous figure that is helpful in that regard. And then in conjunction with the house, it seems unsecured. The kids are unsafe and they need to be somehow secured. And your husband is there building something on the floor, and it feels to me like the internet is, I like Gary's assessment that it's communication. I think of it as maybe the spiritual life, because it's something that is outside
In
of
the air everywhere.
yeah, outside of our senses, but it's really important. You need to have this in order to move forward. And so it feels to me like here's a situation where the masculine and feminine parts need to help each other out, but they're not quite in balance. That's kind of what I'm getting out of it right now.
That's a good start. We're just gonna keep. Now, Kat, let's hear your always interesting take on what just your initial impressions. What struck you as the most the most odd thing about the dream, or from your perspective, what did you see?
My first impressions, it's kind of like being in Alice in Wonderland, when nothing kind of fits, or you get these keys and shrinking and going bigger. It feels like, for me, in first impressions, just going down the spiral, rabbit holes, really. Nothing's quite what it seems. And that's all I kind of get at the moment. There's so much to do, but with it, but that's what it kind of feels like, just going down a rabbit hole, but not a particularly pleasant one, apart from the angel, if you see what I mean. I'm sure it is, but do you know what I mean? That sort of panic, that kind of, where am I going with this? And then as for the connection, in some ways, he's worried about we have no Wi-Fi, and I agree with what everyone said about that is and connection. But I also think with Wi-Fi and internet, there's a hell of a lot of distraction as well that comes with it, and also, and again, like not relating sort of thing. When you think about how a lot of people spend a lot of time on their phones or internet and not really having face-to-face sort of intimacy, if you see what I mean. Just simple sort of stuff, simple chatting and relating. We seem to put a lot and rely a lot on the internet, if you see what I mean. I mean, that's what I get at the minute, but there you go.
So I tell my wife, I graduated in 1973, and I think she graduated in 76. And I said, don't you wish we had Instagram and Facebook and instant messaging and stuff when we were in junior high school? And she says, no, I had enough problems, But anyway, let's go through it, because I kind of got the impression, sort of like the Wizard of Oz. She's going to see the sort of the Wizard of Oz. But it also has this. Well, let me just go through it and just see what we have. So we now the first part. Okay, we're in the husband's truck, which we never drive. Okay, so we are in a masculine, we've adopted a masculine attitude. And we are, let's say we are driving the truck of the animus. So we are driving the truck of the masculine entity. Okay, his vehicle. Okay, so it's sort of like like if I was to drive my wife's vehicle, you know, which and you know, it's full of lipstick and all of her things that she has in the car, and you know, I'm driving it for a long time. It's just, it represents her. His truck represents him, and it is not necessarily, and probably isn't now. I always, this is why I would never be a good analyst, is because you know, I always am looking for the well, one thing that one of Jung's, it was this one woman who was sort of surprised by all the Jungians. It's actually a young woman, and she went to Emma Jung one time, and she kind of just unloaded all her problems to her, and after she got done, Emma Jung looked at her and she says, "Well, what is it? Do you think this is it? You know, your life is ended, or are you just going to go on? You know?" And the idea, what she said was this: that what Emma Jung meant was that these were petty issues, and that she said that what was important in Jung's circle, where Liliane Fry Rohn said every day was filled with rich spiritual food, is that they didn't have time for small problems, because they were looking for a relationship to the divine. You know, now that's what I tend to do, which is not really very realistic. You know, but I don't say it. I often, and I think in particularly in Roy's dreams, that sometimes I strike out, because Roy's dreams seem to have a very earthy quality that my intuitive sense doesn't get. Okay, so anyway, that she's driving this husband's vehicle that's full of husband things, and she's driving it around. Now she's trying to find the growing thing that she's going to pick them up at the bus stop. They've maybe been in school or something. She's going to pick them up at the bus stop and bring them home. Now, she at one point she is somehow needed to park, and and see, the truck is so big that she's not used to it. It's not the kind of truck, and because of it is this masculine truck, she, you know, it's like me driving a great big truck. I don't know how long it is, and it's sticking way out on the road. The lady, so we have not adapted really to the masculine vehicle yet. We don't know how big it is, and when we park just the way we normally park, a lot of it's sticking way out in the road, and nobody can get by. Now, the lady complains. Now, this is very interesting, and I don't think we need to know the answer, but it is. I think the answer is really just the way it's stated. We can't remember. We try to tell her why the truck is parked, or why we parked here and the truck is way out in the road, but we can't remember the reason. Then we do remember the reason, and it starts to come back to us bit by bit. But when we finally awake, we still can't remember it, but we knew that the answer came back in waves. Now, this happens to me too, but so the reason here, the unspoken reason for this is a great mystery that kind of hangs over this. But it was apparently it's important. But that is a very, so the two important parts in the first thing is that we are driving the vehicle that is full of the masculine attitude. We have not adapted to it. When we park it, it's way out in the road. And I think that's probably the reason, but I'm not saying it is. But that there was, that we forgot it and we could remember it coming back in waves, the reason. Okay. All right, that's part two. Now, part one. Now, part two is we're still looking for the bus stop, but we realize now we're starting to get lost. We're not sure we're in the right place. Okay, now this is where ego can't help you now. You're getting into the fairy tale aspect here, that you know, we cannot solve the problem. We cannot lift the curse. We cannot cure the enchantment with the ego. The ego, that's the whole point, is that ego awareness has an issue that needs a sort of a synchronistic miracle to occur to resolve what is the real root problem here. Okay, now it's still dark outside. We're going to pick up our kids. Why is it dark? And we're lost. We don't know where it is. We start driving around in blocks and blocks and blocks. We can't find it. Now, here comes the thing. We drive down a one-way street and we get stuck. Now, is that an accident? No, it's not an accident. That's why we're going down the one-way street. Now, so the one-way street goes only towards the building, this kind of grand central station. That's what I'm thinking of. You know, the train goes in, the tracks stop, they go into a building where there's unbelievable restaurants everywhere and people milling around shopping. But it's this magical building. The road goes into the building, okay? And we go in there, and here is this mysterious person who looks like a regular man, but we know that he's not really. He's like Kris Kringle dressed not in his Santa suit, but as just an ordinary man. Now, if Santa Claus is dressed as an ordinary man, yep. Yeah, go ahead, Dawn, please. Go ahead.
About this possibly being about my personal relationship, I don't think that quite fits because, and I love him to death. I'm not trying to say anything bad about him, but generally he's gone hunting, or he's in his room playing this game he's addicted to. He's not really very available, so I don't see how it would make sense that he's trying to build something and that there's no.
Yeah, I don't think the unconscious thinks that is the central issue. To relate to this person who's always gone, who's always sort of is playing computer games all the time and stuff like that. So let's assume for the time being that it is not it is not about the husband. Hey, Azine, we're doing a very beautiful dream here.
I'm sorry I was late. I completely forgot.
Oh,
Sorry.
well, that's fine. I'm just going to put it in the chat. It's a fairly long dream, but we're trying to work through it here.
Is this your dream?
It is Dawn's dream, and I think you're going to get a real flavor for Dawn's dreams. They are have a wonderful character in them that is I always enjoy her dreams. Okay, let's see here. And there's this part. It's in 3 parts. And then there's the final part. Let's see here. All right, yeah, here's the final part. Okay, and we're just now let me just kind of review real quick. The first part is I'll just go through it real quick. Is she's driving her husband's truck, which she rarely does, and she's looking for her kids at the bus stop. There's in one point where she parks the truck and it sticks way out in the road. So she's driving a vehicle that is full of male elements. Now, see, I was just saying, if I drove my wife's vehicle, it's full of feminine elements. Now, in this case, this thing is so long. I mean, if you've ever driven a great big extended cab pickup truck and tried to park it somewhere, you know, like in a grocery store, and half of the truck is out in the blocking everybody's way. Okay, and someone complains. We try to tell them the reason for it, but we can't remember what it is. And but we do remember that it was coming back in waves. I kind of think it has to do with that we can't adapt to this overly masculine truck. Okay, and then the second aspect, which we're just going over, is we get lost. It's dark outside. We're looking for the kids at the bus stop. We drive around the block near our house, looking for it. Now, skip the key part for a second. We head down a one-way street and can't get stuck. Now, that's where we were just at. And we can't turn the truck around. Now, this is not by accident, because at the end of the street, it is a dead end, but it's not just any dead end. It is a building that is the goal of the one-way street, is this building. That's what the street, the only reason the street is there. And it, by the way, when you go there, you can't turn around. It's a one-way. Remember, we had the bridge, 2 bridges. One goes this way, and the other one goes that way. You know, one bridge goes towards the self, the other bridge goes the self back to us. Okay, then now there's a part about the truck there too. It's just a little bit out of order, but forget that too. We'll bring that up. We walk into the building at the end of the street as because the road runs right into the building. So I'm thinking of well, I don't know if it's called Grand Central Station, but it's that place in Chicago where all the subways end up, in downtown Chicago, and they actually go into the building, And now there is a man there, and he seems to shine or exude something curious to me. He doesn't speak, but smiles. We wonder if he was an angel. Now, he, after we've met with him, he's going to help us get out of the one-way street, but he isn't really there to help us get out of the one-way street, which comes up in a second here. Now, the other thing about this man who was an angel, what she says, it's like Kris Kringle or Santa Claus dressed in regular clothes. Now we go up to him and he doesn't let on. He just looks like a regular man, but we know from something curious about him that he's not a regular man. I mean, there's just something about him that is the look in his eyes, his bearing and everything is not that of a regular man. His look is of a regular man, but his bearing and his look are saying, no, this is not a regular man. Okay. And anyway, and he doesn't say anything, he just smiles. Okay. So anyway, now we can go back. Now our truck, while we were gone, had shrunk. Okay. But after we go to see him, it grew so much that it smashed the truck behind us. Now there's somebody in the truck trapped and everything, and we wonder if he's dead. But I don't really think that's the point. I think it was just illustrating how big the truck had got. Not only that, but there is an extra set of keys on the truck. We don't need these keys. But what I was saying, I thought they're not ordinary keys. They're not the common gold. You know, our gold is not the common gold. These keys are not the common keys. So the two things that had happened is the masculine attitude of the truck has taken on a new meaning. It's no longer the lower animus. It now is the truck of the higher animus. So it's no longer the truck of the husband who just plays computer games, doesn't make himself available to us, and is gone all the time. This is of the one who exhibits the curious attitude that is like Kris Kringle in civilian clothes, yet we know it's Kris Kringle. And after we leave and certain things happen, we know it was him. Okay, and the two things that happened is the truck suddenly took on the attitude of the higher animus, the one who brings meaning to us, and not the one who brings us negative opinions. You can't. You'll never do it. Don't start. Okay. This has reformed and reshaped after we saw this kind of what I think is almost like the Wizard of Oz. You know, the guy that got killed reminds me of the house falling on the person, and you find the dead witch underneath. You know, this could be some symbol of the lower animus was crushed by the higher animus. In other words, the lower animus can't really affect us anymore. Okay, but so then, okay, now we're heading back down the street. Now we talked about the truck shrinking and the keys. That comes after we see the angel. It's not in the dream. It's a little bit out of order. Now we're heading down the street and we hear a scary music playing in a house across the street from me. Okay. Scary music. Okay, what would be scary music? Scary music would be like, I don't know, you know. The scary music, I think, you know, because I'm a kind of old, would be like the Phantom of the Opera, you know, playing his organ in the Phantom of the Opera. But, you know, it could be, could you describe the quality of it, Dawn? The scary music. Do you remember what the quality of it was? Let's just say it was, you know, it could be heavy metal music or something.
No,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry about that. Yeah, it reminded me of music from just a horror movie.
Yeah,
that was
that's what I was thinking. It's just, okay, let's say now the music from a horror movie, you know, like either those zing, 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 or something like that, or, you know, the Phantom of the Opera. It just has this attitude. And again, now the house that we're going to, that's our house, is not the house in the outer world. It's the inner house. There's something about it that is very mysterious. And now, I know we're on the cusp of getting close to this, but I don't think we're going to get to it tonight. But I do know that that's important. Okay, now we are still so anyway, our anxiety is growing because it seems like they're in danger because there's scary music from horror movies playing. Where now we go up and we try the door. We just heard the scary music on our street, the house across the street. We go up and try the door. It's unlocked. Our anxiety is growing. Now we go in and we find the keys, the kids, and we tell them to lock the door. Don't leave this door unlocked. Now we walk into the house. Okay. This is sort of the anticlimax. We see our husband trying to build something on the floor, but he is unsuccessful. he looks at me with a very concerned face. We don't have any Wi-Fi. That's what he says. Okay, and as if that's the reason, nothing can happen. We don't have any Wi-Fi. So all activity has ceased. Okay. Now that is actually, during the Duray show here, where we were out of power for 2 weeks. My wife went up to Minnesota. That was one of my biggest concerns is we don't have any Wi-Fi. I mean, that was probably my biggest worry. I said, I can do without air conditioning and refrigerators and food, but I can't do without Wi-Fi, So, and then at that point, there is this feeling at the end that we feel he needs me there to build it. Okay. Now this is not just the ordinary me. This is the me who's seen the wise old man or something. At least we have met him. He has given us a bigger truck and these wonderful keys, and these miracle keys. Okay, Azim, why don't you give us your opinion? Let's go around one more time and see if anybody has any more things about it or thoughts about it.
I think I'm gonna wait. I'm still thinking.
Okay, well, sure. Let's let the other people talk, and some thoughts will come to you. Roy, do you have any new thoughts about it?
Okay, I like the keys a lot, besides the positive animus. And I was thinking, the complaining woman and the crushed animus and the scary music and the anxiety, all this is sort of shadow stuff. It's like the toad, but where's the eagle? The eagle's this angel, this Chris Kringle, and he's trying to help her, but she's going to have to do it herself. And I think he did leave the keys in the truck for her to figure out who are these keys. What do they go to? That's what she needs to follow and discover for herself.
Keys to having a positive relationship with a male in our outer life, possibly. I'm just guessing there, but Gary, what do you think?
I like what Roy said, and I think also, like, we choose aspects of ourselves to deal with issues, or we have a complex that brings out an aspect of ourselves that we may not be conscious of in trying to deal with the problem. And so, this seems to relate to something which is either, bothering her consciously or unconsciously. And, and it feels like, she's trying to force something, in a dominant fashion. That's why the mail truck, that's why it swells. That's why you see some of the conflicts in there. And Don, we may have this wrong yet again. You'll have to give feedback on this to see if this is like, nope, that's not it either. But the keys, the angel, which is, like maybe, suggesting like, no, the inflation of the dominant male aspect has to shrink. That's not going to work. And then, but there are some other shadow aspects and you're on your own.
It is, I think Dawn also put something there, that in this house, the kids are in one section, but it's totally separated from the husband aspect. So she goes into the realm, the room of the children. And the room of the children is not the room of the husband. So there's two kind of different attitudes there. First, she has saved the growing thing within her. Then she goes into this other room and finds the helpless masculine in her, who is helpless now because he doesn't have the Wi-Fi. He doesn't, yet if she is there, he doesn't need the Wi-Fi. He can fix, he can build it if she is there, but not without her. Tim, what do you think?
Well, I'm suddenly struck with the keys. It seems like that's a signal that the animus has a power that is available, and the key to unlock that is also available, but it's just a matter of trying to put these parts together. It's what's missing is some part of the feminine energy, which is what I think of as the non-functioning internet. And at the same time, there's this scary music coming from across the street. The door is unlocked. There's obviously some kind of security issue, and maybe that's where the keys to the animus are going to be helpful. But the missing element is the feminine element about relationship and communication and relatedness. Maybe that's what I've got.
I think the three things on the street are fearfulness, the scary music, the unlocked door, the children who are in danger and need our protection, and then this helpless husband who now, since we've seen the great man, we can now make him less helpless. I'm just, I'm not saying that's definite, but let's see, hear Kat and then Azine, see if you have any observations after this. Go ahead, Kat. Your perspective is helpful.
I'm very interested in the keys, in the fact that I wonder how they got there, but you don't need them, and you don't recognize that they're yours, feel that they belong to somebody else. So you set off to go and find who they belong to, but then, going down the street, you hear the scary music. It's almost like the keys represent the children in some ways, and you hear the scary music from the house across the street. You immediately you sense there's danger, that your anxiety's risen, but you still go to the children to make sure they're right and tell them to lock the door. What's interesting is that they have to lock the door, and the husband that's in another room hadn't locked the door. And that's what I find interesting. Yeah, that's me for now.
Okay.
I'll have a bit more of a think.
Yeah, the one thing that you brought up, Kat, that's very important is, often when we're in some place, in a house or something, we find something that doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the unknown. We don't know who it belongs to. We don't know who owns the house. We're living here. We don't know who it belongs to. Or, we think we have a deed, but we're not sure. So the ownership is obscure. And in this case, there is a set of keys that we don't know who it belongs to. They belong to the unknown. We can say that almost for sure. Azine, what do you think?
Well, I think this dream is, in general, it's a kind of overwhelmed by animus, by masculine energy. I think a lot of, first of all, when in a dream, when you have more than images, so it's vision and it's sounds and it's texture, It's just, first of all, it shows the dreamer is a very smart person. It's a sign of high IQ, and it means also that you're in deeper levels of unconscious, and all this sensation is you're relating through these sensations to unconscious. So I think there's a bunch of masculine elements here. The keys are symbolic for masculine. The shrunken and enlarged truck is a symbol of masculine, and the number of masculine figures in the dream. So as I said, it's related to a kind of being overwhelmed by the masculine energy. It's just like there's potential, but you cannot relate to it. So speaking and communication is related to animus. Animus is the part that makes us, especially women, to express themselves, to be assertive, to talk. And in this dream, the self figure, the guy, the angel guy, who's, I think it's a representative of self, is not speaking, it's just smiling. And I had this feeling that it brings a kind of relief, because speaking is somehow related to stress here in this dream. And we know that Dawn doesn't like to talk a lot. So I think talking is a way of communication. Also, when it says there's no Wi-Fi, it also implies lack of communication, because Wi-Fi is communication, is relatedness, is being able to communicate, to talk, or receive and give information. The scariness, the scary music and the darkness, I think it shows a kind of feeling not safe, powerless, and it's a sign of animus in separation. The keys to unknown doors, I think it's potential, unknown potentials of animus, right? But why this dreamer is not able to connect to the power and strength and assertiveness and goal orientation that animus can bring to our life? I think the key is lack of communication. For women, it is always recommended that they talk to their animus, like straight forward, just like you're talking to a person, because that's how animus relate to us, by talking, expressing, being clear. And it's often recommended to women to talk to animus, because animus can be really greedy and out of control. And it's often said that women have to talk to the animus and say, you have enough, your husband loves you, don't complain. It's about greediness of animus. But in this case, I think the dreamer needs to start talking directly to the animus. Ask him, what is that key for? Why you are sending me this scary music? And just ask questions, direct questions, and have a dialogue on paper in active imagination. I see a lot of potential in this dream with masculinity, but it's locked. And even the doors are not in sight, but the keys are there. So I think the main key for this dreamer is communicating, talking directly to animus.
Rather than, now see, the husband plays all these computer games, he's not talking directly to her.
That's lack of communication.
Yeah, it's the one he's communicating with is the Wi-Fi or something. But now she's come in and then she knows if she can communicate with him, they can build something together, you know, and he can transform in. Now, I'm not talking about your outer husband, but your inner husband. Not the outer husband, yeah, but someone within, through a relationship. And this is not the outer husband. This is the animus within. See, I think there's two there. The animus that we're meeting in that room is the lower animus, and we met the self, and the self has given us the keys to start to get the lower animus to take on his real role, you know, of building something with us, you know, whatever he's trying to do, he can't build without us, you know. Now this is the idea of the philosopher's stone. Okay, it does not appear in nature. Okay, it can't be built by the inner animus by himself. It can't be built by the ego itself. The only way it can come into being is through the collaborative efforts of the inner masculine and the outer feminine, the ego and the inner feminine. Yeah, Azine, everybody, this is very, very helpful. I think what we, unless anybody, does any, DeRoy or Gary or Tim or Kat have any?
Just a quick comment, you know, because this almost reminds me of what Jordy was talking about, you know, where woman that, you know, that he'd seen in his country could be very masculine. And I thought, oh yeah, you know, there were a few women that I knew in college, like one, she wore a knife strapped to her thigh, you know. And then the other one, you know, it was like she tried to challenge males on their own ground and to always show that that she could outdo them. And I think the issue there was that you know, although men may have, you know, masculine tendencies, there's generally, you know, there's discernment about, you know, how far to take this stuff. Whereas I think with women, especially like with what Jordy was talking about, when the animus is out of control, you know, then it gets to be this type of thing where discernment isn't there. And I think that's, you know, what Azin was saying about, you know, you have to talk to that masculine, you know, aspect. You have to talk to the animus. You have to dialogue with it. It's just so true, because that's where the discernment is. And that's where you might find where things are blown out of proportion, for example, you know, where, you know, if you go back and forth and if you, you know, actually take the part of the animus and you know, let it express its views, and then you come back also with your reasoning. So I thought that was just brilliant advice, Azim.
Also mentioned some of the wonderful art forms of Spain too, you know, flamenco, I mean, Spain has got this very unique art forms. I mean, I thought, Azine, of the whirling dervishes, and you compare them with the flamenco dancers. That, of course, you know, there was a Muslim influence in Spain for quite some time, and I think that part of that is showing there. But
I think it was a kind of liminal space at some point, Spain.
Yes.
West and East. Iran has also the same thing. It's a place to these two forces meet with each other. But Spain, I think it was a liminal space back then.
Yeah, I mean, it just absolutely has a quality like the Sufi dancers. You know, I think Well, anyway, let's go back with this. Tim, I'm assuming you have a dream, don't you? Or you were going to give us one last time, and I don't know whether we ever got to it. I'm
I
kind
can
of
put
lost.
one in.
Yeah. While you're doing it, I wanted to read you Charles' dream. He sent it to me. It's not very long, but I don't know if you remember. He had this dream where his lifelong Molly, he had an overnight with her, and she totally ignored him the whole time. Well, and then this is his dream he just sent me today. He was talking with me, with Craig, and I informed him that Molly was in Hawaii with her brother, and that her brother was an electric technician. Now this happens in so many of Charles' dreams, and I want to just say Charles isn't here, but I do want to discuss it with him. At this point, he totally had a meltdown. Now he has these meltdowns in dreams. I broke down and cried. It was one of the most severe breakdowns I've ever had in a dream, and I was destroyed over the fact that I could not provide Molly with a lifestyle into which I could take her to Hawaii and things like that. Now the only thing I wanted to read that is for this reason. Charles has the meltdowns in the dreams, but not so much in the outer world. I mean, sometimes it seems there's more apathy in the outer world, but in the dreams, great emotion. And I just Roy, do you have any comments about that or not?
Well, I like Cowshed. He's in a trance in the real world,
Yeah.
but not in the imaginary world. He's more in touch with his feelings. He's more alive.
This is the emotional aspect. Does anybody else have any comments? But then we'll go to Tim's dream.
Well, just a quick comment on that, because I remember, at one point, Charles wanted to become an electric technician. And so, there we see the, kind of like the projection of what might have been. And because Molly is with the brother, I think that's one thing Charles has a problem getting past. It's getting past the brotherly aspect into the type of relationship that he actually wants. So,
he and I share pretty much the same life cycle. I mean, I was a pueriturnus. I think I came out of it probably when I was 27, and Charles is a little over 30, but I mean, started to come out of it. But I always had this fantasy that because of this unlived life I had, that I wanted to go back and start over again, because I didn't want to have the unlived life. I wanted to have the lived life, and I just felt that if I just concentrated enough, I'd be there, and so I asked the anima in an act of imagination about it, and she says, well, you might go there, but I'm not. I'm staying right here, she says. And she says, and by the way, whatever you were going to do back there, why don't you do it right here, right now? She says, and then she says this, it's never too late to become what you might have been. That's what she said, so that has been really something that has motivated me seriously into it's never too late to become what you might have been. I mean, that is sort of something that is an energizing statement every day to me since then. Well, go ahead, Tim. Did you have your dream?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, well, why don't you go ahead?
It's called Sharing the Freezer. It came a couple days ago. I'm sitting in a little house that I've been renting for months, but haven't visited and in fact forgotten about. I'm not there but a few minutes when a knock comes on the door and a woman enters. It's Gwen, and she hardly says anything but goes to an interior door on the exterior wall, opens it, and there's a walk-in freezer on the neighbor's side. I gather that she's been wanting access, and this is the only door to the neighbor's freezer. I go into it with her, and we have a difficult conversation.
Okay, great. Now this kind of brings up this this little thing, and I know, Tim, you've had several dreams like this. Sharing the freezer. Okay, first of all, you are a very good namer of dreams. Okay, we are sitting in a little house that we've been renting for months, but haven't visited and in fact forgotten about. Now, does anyone else have dreams like this? Because I sure do. You know, again, this has this aspect of who is, you know what really I always say, it's the aspect is this: you're not the master in your own house. Someone owns it. You have a house that you forgot about. You know, I mean, it's just very interesting to me, and I'm not sure what it means. But then, but I have that dream a lot. So I'm not there but a few minutes when a knock. Now, a one that we'd forgotten about, we hadn't been in for a long time. We're not there for a few minutes when a knock comes on the door and a woman enters. It's Gwen, and she says, hardly says anything, goes to an interior door on the exterior wall, opens it, and there is a walk-in freezer on the neighbor's side. Okay. All right. Can we describe the how that really looks? Now, there's an interior door that goes on the exterior wall. So, and then you open it up, and it's a walk-in freezer. So this is kind of like a duplex, maybe?
Well, I don't have a sense of that, but I do have a sense that there's the boundary on that wall.
Okay, can the neighbor go into the freezer as well?
No, they don't
Yeah.
have a door to it.
Okay, they don't have a part two. Okay, anyway, and there's a walk-in freezer on the neighbor's side. I gather that she's been wanting access, this is the only door to the neighbor's freezer. I go into it with her and we have a difficult conversation. Okay, this just is so interesting to me. You know, my father-in-law, you know, was a theology professor, and he told me this dream he had one time, that he's driving a truck, and the truck is a freezer. You know, it's a refrigerated freezer truck, and in the back of the truck are animals in suspended animation. All these instinctive aspects of this Christian theology professor are frozen in the back of the truck, you know. So he's driving in, so it's sort of like his body is in the freezer or something, I don't know. But anyway, now this is where it gets very mysterious, okay? Now remember, Gwen comes in, doesn't say anything. She's somewhat like the Kris Kringle character who just doesn't say anything and smiles. Let's go over this again. There's a knock comes down the door and a woman enters. Did you let her in or did she just walk in?
I think she walked in.
Yeah. Okay. And it's Gwen. She doesn't say anything. Now, of course, we forgot about this house. We've been renting it for months and we haven't visited it. And we go there, and the first time we're going there, suddenly the anima comes in. Typical anima action. She doesn't talk to us. This is the case with almost all my animas. They don't look at me. They don't talk to me. Okay. She comes in to an interior door, the exterior wall, opens it, and there is a walk-in freezer. Okay. The anima is revealing a frozen aspect of our residence. There's a frozen aspect of our residence. She goes in there and we have a difficult conversation. Is the difficult conversation about is a frozen aspect between us and the anima. I mean, she comes in, doesn't even knock. I mean, she doesn't even wait for the door open. She knocks, walks in, goes over, opens the freezer, walks into the freezer. We follow her in and have a difficult conversation. Okay, the difficult conversation, just jumping to conclusions, might have to do with the frozen aspect in our relatedness to her. But that's just a guess. Roy, what do you think?
Yeah, he should spend more time in this house that he's vaguely aware of. Yeah, that's a big improvement for Tim. He's, like you're saying, Craig, he's relating to the animal. They go into the freezer together and have a conversation. This is quite a breakthrough. Yeah, I have to smile at this.
Yeah, it's not sexual. It's not seductive. It is about a critical issue, and there is what you call a tete-a-tete or a head-to-head about it. And it's difficult because it is a head-to-head. What do you think, Gary?
But one of the, I agree with everything you're saying. One of the interesting things I find is that the freezer is actually on the neighbor's side, which saying that, this is one of the, it truly is a shadow aspect. It's something that he's denying, that he's, completely pushed away, that he's like, that's not me, that's somebody else's, this isn't part of me. So yeah, I think Zin's advice to Don is appropriate here. He needs to have conversations with the animal about this.
It's typical too of houses that are mysterious and we're not sure who owns it or we haven't been to it long, that it has rooms and places in it that we're not aware of. Go ahead, Tim.
Let me give you a little bit of context on Gwen.
Yeah.
This is a woman that was a neighbor of mine. And a couple of years ago, we were taking walks together a lot. She'd come over and, bring me food and we exchanged furniture. And, we had this really close relationship. And all of a sudden, she just blew out of my life. And I never really understood what that was about. She moved away and
Never said goodbye or
right. And I don't know. My dreamer obviously picked this woman for a particular reason. So there's some kind of miscommunication, some kind of misunderstanding. And my feeling is that the conversation in the freezer was about the relationship, although I don't have any recollection of that.
And what does it mean to have a conversation in a freezer? And what does it mean to have a walk-in freezer in this forgotten house?
In a very small house.
Yeah. Here it's very important, the fact that we have a forgotten house. And in the forgotten house, there's a forgotten room. And in the forgotten room is something that freezes everything. Okay. The anima is very interested in this room. She comes into the forgotten house, goes directly into the freezer, and then we go in there and she is going to have some conversation with us that within this forgotten house, we have this freezer, this frozen aspect in us that is an obstacle to a relationship with her. So okay, let's just Zine and then Kat. I'm just going based on what my screen has. You guys ordered that.
Yeah, I think it's almost like Gwen is telling Tim, let's face it. There's something that you have to face it. And whatever it is, it has been put aside, maybe for a long time. So it's considered frozen. But when you said, I just wanted to tell you that you have to do some association around Gwen, but then you said that she was your neighbor and suddenly she just left. So there's an element of misunderstanding or even abandonment. Maybe you want to ask yourself if there is something going on in your life right now that makes you feel like that, misunderstood or left or abandoned. And unlike Dawn's dream, that's why I suggested talking to animals. I think with animal, you have a great tool to communicate with animal, and this is drawing and painting and just doodling, you know, just doodle what is in that room, you know, just draw things and see what comes out of these drawings. Animal is usually related to intuition and feelings. So you want to go deeper into your feelings about that room. How do you feel about that room? And in most cases, I've seen that animal is really concerned about men, what men do as a job. If animal is not happy with what you're doing as a job, you will not be, there's no way you can be happy. She will keep nagging and making you uncomfortable. I don't think it's your case. I'm not sure, but you may also think about this aspect.
You know, one thing I want to say about Tim's dreams is there's this book by Gerhard Adler called The Living Symbol. And I really do think that Tim's dreams could be made up into a book like The Living Symbol. I mean, it is just such a, it is really is a journey. I mean,
Yeah,
that is, his dreams have a theme, and you tell me, Tim, it very rarely strays from a central theme. You know, it does it with a lot of different things, but there seems to be a central theme that is following, that is just this inner music, and this drone, and it doesn't change the note.
there's a storyline, and you can draw the
Yes.
scenes like those books.
Yeah, it seems to, it does have a lyrical, musical quality to it, or some kind of one, you know, you say about the muse, it does have this quality of a created, that something must come into being. But I think it is saying a lot of the times that that the obstacle to it coming into being is us. You know, and it tries to tell us is us, is me.
Oh.
And it tries to tell us in a million different ways. And what is it about us that does it? Now, Kat, let's hear you. I love to hear your perspective, and plus you have a wonderful speaking voice.
You can
You do.
understand
I'm
my
just
British
saying.
accent then.
Just saying.
The thing that gets me, I quite like this Gwen because she sounds like in the dream, and she's quite strident, and so you go into the walk-in freezer to have a difficult conversation, which to my mind, when you explained about what actually happened with Gwen, it's like we have a saying over in the UK is that she throws you out. She throws you out. And then there is a feeling for me about self-preservation. And I feel like, so having a difficult conversation in a cold space, like, you know, difficult conversations normally bring a lot of heat. So there can be melting, and then and the thawing of that icy kind of stuff. But I also feel by having the heat of the conversation, having the heat of creativity or whatever, I actually feel like the freezer is a gateway to Narnia, actually. I get a very much like the Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe kind of thing with this freezer. So that's it for me.
Narnia. Well,
That's
Tim, go ahead. On what? Why don't you tell us what you have to say, Tim? And I just want to look up Narnia. But go ahead.
Well, that's a really interesting comment, Kat, about Gateway to Narnia. I'll have to think about that. I like the idea, Azin, of having a dialogue about these things. One thing I wanted to mention was I've been having a lot of dreams, and several of them have nothing to do with this theme. But I tend to bring these dialogues with the anima because I'm so curious about this. It's right down the alley of my life's work, and I really want to be on top of this association with my feminine aspect. So I tend to favor those dreams in particular, which is why it seems like there's a theme.
I think she wants us to do that. But you know, she is very far from the world of consciousness. You know, what Jung says, she represents nature itself. You know, and I think she has an attitude that you know, that we are hostile to her wildness and her nature, her closeness to the life force itself. You know, she is the life force itself, and she feels that the reason that we this is just me brainstorming. It is not me pontificating. Okay, I'm just brainstorming. That I'm just saying this seems to be what's happening. She seems to think that there is some attitude that we have in the conscious life that overvalues it and undervalues not her seductive aspect. Now I want to tell you what Jung said one time. He says, or maybe it was Hillman. He says that, you know, at some time, she is not here to dance a seductive dance in front of us. That's not her role. At some time, she needs to stop dancing. And then we need to collaborate with her as she really is. Because, you know, this seductive dancing aspect of her is if that's what we think she is, it's a projection, and we're under a spell. We're not conscious at that point. We are unconscious, and she needs us to be conscious, and she needs us not to be unconscious. And the unconscious aspect is that aspect of the feminine that overwhelms us. Now this was a big problem I had and I actually had a woman tell me one time, you put me on a pedestal. I don't want someone who does that. You're not genuine. You're not real. I need somebody who's genuine and real. Azin, you were shaking your head. Did you have any?
Oh my God, it's so beautiful what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminded me of something that Jung said, and I wasn't in agreement with him, and took me a couple of years to understand why I resisted that thought. Jung was all about meaning, and he was saying that the reason we cannot tolerate our pain and suffering is that we still haven't found a meaning for that suffering. If you find a meaning to that, everything makes sense. you know. So he actually talked about the necessity of meaning in life. I liked that idea for a couple of years when I started reading Jung, but then there was something that told me I don't like it. And then years later, I heard Joseph Campbell talking about this. And he said, Jung says we need meaning. I don't think we need meaning. What we need,
Experience of being alive.
that's what he says, is a space for free manifestation. Okay. So when you were talking about life and anima is nature and anima is life, anima is not about meaning. Anima is not about achievement. She's about free manifestation. And there's a difference between achievement and manifestation. Because the feminine energy is in the moment, and it's in details, and it's about little things that makes life beautiful, and the little things that you do, and it's your character is in it, you know, even if it's a dish that you invent, something that you cook, and it's you, you know. So it's it was really touching to me when you were talking about anima and her presence in our dreams and in our life. Even her concern about what we do for a living is just about manifestation. It's not about, do you have achievements, you know?
The feminine world, and I really was taken by Kat's dream of going into the dark forest. There's the palace and the estate, and everyone's gathered that. And I just want to finish with this. What does it say on the hut that the handless maiden finds in the most feminine place in the forest that she goes to heal in it? What does it say on the front, on the top of the hut? Here, everyone may live freely. You know,
May live what?
may live freely. That is the motto that is on the house of the feminine in the forest of healing. Here may all live freely.
That's how you reach into life.
Yes, exactly. It's beautiful. And I thought of that because when you talked about the free manifestation. Well, anyway, it's been very good. We want to readdress these dreams Wednesday if you guys are here, but Kat or Azine or Gary or Roy, if you have a dream, be sure and bring it.
I have something to share about my dreams, but since we don't have time, I will share it next time on Wednesday.
Yeah, sure. Next time you're here, we'll go right to it. Okay. All right. Thanks,
Great.
everybody. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
I enjoyed it very
Bye.
much. Okay. See you. And Dawn, you especially. Okay.
night.
Bye now. Yeah. Bye.